Ever since the formulation of the Agile Manifesto, Agile has had 4 basic values that guide the essence of Agile efforts. They are as follows: individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working products and services over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. Let's look at each one a bit more in detail. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Previously, organizations and teams tended to concentrate on having the best possible tools or processes with which to build their product or deliver their service, often called best practices. This first Agile value suggests that while those things are important, the people behind the processes and tools are even more important. Having the right group of individuals on your team is critical to success. The best tools are basically worthless in the wrong sets of hands. Perhaps even more important is how those individuals interact with each other, which is what helps them to collaborate and solve problems along the way. Communication illustrates the meaning of this first value. In the case of valuing individuals and interactions, communication is fluid and happens when a need arises. On the other hand, when valuing processes and tools higher, communication is scheduled and requires specific content. It is the people who decide the right process for the development, not the process that decides what the right development is. When development is driven by processes or tools, the team is less responsive to changes and less likely to meet the needs of the customers. Working products and services over comprehensive documentation. In its original form, this value speaks of working software, but we have exchanged it with working products and services to again illustrate Agile's use outside the world of software development. In the past, large chunks of time was spent on documenting the product or service for development and later delivery. Things such as technical requirements, technical specifications, interface design documents, test plans, documentation plans, different approvals, and so on were cause for long delays in development. Agile values documentation, but it values working products and services more. It streamlines documentation so that the work can get done without getting bogged down by unimportant details and administration. Delivering working products or services, or working parts of products or services, to customers is one of Agile's highest priorities. That way you can gather feedback to help you improve the final product or upgrades to it. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Traditionally, extensive time was spent on contract negotiation. The supplier or developer would draw up contracts with the customer that would detail the finished product or service, as well as points along the way where the details could be renegotiated. This meant the customer was mainly involved in the process before development began and after it was completed, but not during development itself. This often meant there was a difference between what the contract said, what the product or service did, and what the customer actually needed. Customer collaboration takes a rather different approach. It focuses on continuous development and involves building a feedback loop with your customers so that they can continuously ensure that your product or service works for them. The customer is engaged and collaborates throughout the development process. This makes it easier for development to meet the needs of the customer. Agile ways of doing this can include the customer attending periodic demos of parts of the product or service. It could also easily mean an end user being a daily part of the team and attending meetings. Responding to change over following a plan. In the past, organizations and teams would draw up a roadmap and it would never or rarely change. The idea was to develop detailed, elaborate plans with a defined set of features and much depending on delivering in a certain order so that the teams could then work on the next piece of the puzzle. Change was often regarded as an expense and was therefore to be avoided. The problem with static roadmaps is that the world today is far from static. Needs and requirements are constantly shifting, as are priorities, so the static roadmap will soon grow outdated. Agile instead values that teams should have the ability to pivot and change direction when they need to, and have a flexible, dynamic roadmap that reflects that. A dynamic roadmap can change quarter to quarter, sometimes even month to month. Agile teams often work in so-called iterations. More about those later in the course. And the shortness of these iterations means priorities can be shifted from iteration to iteration. Agile methods allow the team to modify the process and make it fit the team and the customer's needs rather than the other way around. New or modified features can be added along the way, and Agile's view is that changes improve a project. Changes provide additional value.